Happy Monday, and welcome back to the LordanArts channel. I'm John Lordan. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here today. Case Cracked is the show where we look into a mystery, and what are the critical pieces that help solve that mystery. Today's episode is called The Broken Windshield. Wisconsin, 2016. 46-year-old Barbara Kendhammer worked in the school cafeteria at West Haven Middle School, and her husband, 47-year-old Todd Kendhammer, worked at a local factory that made aluminum cans. The couple met just after Barbara's graduation back in 1988. 3 years later, they were married and soon had 2 children, Jessica and Jordan. September 16th, 2016 was going to be another busy day for the couple. They were scheduled to travel to a side job that Todd had lined up, replacing a broken windshield. After they were done, Todd would drop Barbara at the middle school for her to go to work. At about 8 a.m., a frantic call came into 911. Todd was on the side of the road just outside of La Crosse. He stated that while he and Barbara drove down the road, a truck passed them going in the opposite direction. Quote, "A pipe or something came through the windshield," he told the operator. He said that he believed Barbara was hit in the head and in the throat with the pipe. He had taken the pipe out of the windshield in order to pull Barbara from the car and to start administering CPR. Paramedics arrived and took over, but unfortunately, the following day, Barbara died at a local hospital. The couple had just celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary. When an autopsy was performed, the results didn't seem to fit Todd's story. The medical examiner wrote that her injuries were not entirely consistent with being hit by a pipe of that size and weight coming through a windshield. She had died of blunt force injuries to the head and neck, and with skull fractures and cricoid cartilage fractures in the lower neck. The damage to the cricoid cartilage was more consistent with strangulation. There were also injuries found on the back of her head, scratches on her neck. She had a broken nose and bruises all over her body. This all suggested that a larger physical altercation occurred before her death. When Todd was questioned right after the accident, investigators noticed that he had fresh injuries on his hands, along with scratches on his chest and neck. He said the scratches were from work, and the fresh injuries to his hand came just before the pipe hit the windshield of their car. Todd said he threw up his hands and struck the windshield in reaction to the pipe he saw coming. To investigators, the injuries looked more like they came from a struggle. Photos were taken of all the affected areas. They then began working to reconstruct the pipe theory. In 4 trials, the pipe was dropped, but in only 1 out of those 4 did it actually bounce. As they looked for more evidence, investigators found that a horse ranch just down the road from the accident had footage of the highway. When the tape was reviewed, it showed the Kendhammer's vehicle passing by at 7:57 a.m. No other truck matching Todd's description was seen traveling in the direction that he indicated. One construction worker was found who had driven past the Kendhammer's car just after 8 a.m. on the day of the wreck. He stated that he thought someone had driven off the road or was turning to try to get back on it. He saw no one near the car or any damage to it or the windshield. Todd's alibi for the day of the incident was checked. The side job that they were heading to was an acquaintance of the couple's, a man named Justin Heim. Justin told investigators that he didn't need a new windshield, and he didn't order one. He also said that Todd didn't even know where he lived. When Todd was confronted with this, he stated that no, it was actually a friend of Justin's that he was going to see. That friend was questioned as well. He also did not need a new windshield. Investigators now believe that Todd had killed his wife and staged the scene to look like an accident. All they needed was a motive. When the couple's family and friends were questioned, everyone agreed that they were very much in love, and no one knew of any difficulty financially or otherwise that would cause such a situation. Their daughter, Jessica Cervase, said, "Whatever my mom wanted, my dad gave it to her. They were just in a really good time in their lives because they had their first grandchild and they were well off." However, her coworkers at the school stated that Barbara didn't call them the morning to let them know that she wouldn't be there at her usual 8 a.m. She never missed work, nor did she ever miss calling her mother, which she also failed to do that morning. Without a clear motive, 3 months after her death, Todd was arrested for Barbara's murder. His children immediately rallied to his side and were there when he went to court a year later. At his trial, several experts were called. The defense brought in a glass expert that explained why he believed Todd was telling the truth. He stated that the 3 impact points on the windshield came from Todd hitting it when he saw the pipe incoming, the pipe going through the glass, and then Todd pulling the pipe out of the glass to help his wife. However, the prosecution argued that all of the damage only pointed to the fact that Todd damaged the windshield himself to stage the crime scene. A physicist noted that a pipe of that weight could not have flown horizontally into the car. It was also argued that a large metal mug that Barbara had with her in the car that day caused some of her injuries. The medical examiner agreed that it was possible that the mug had hit her face when she ducked to miss the pipe. To end the proceedings, Todd took the stand to testify for himself. He stated that the morning of the accident, he misspoke when he told officers where he was going that day. I'm not in the right state of mind. I was thinking of where I was going or what I was doing. I was thinking of Barb, he said. He continued to muddle his version of events and even introduced a third person he was going to see that morning. Despite it all, his children continued to stand by his side. He doesn't lie, so when he says he didn't do it, we believe him, Jessica said. The jury, however, found him guilty of first-degree intentional homicide in December of 2017. He was sentenced to serve life in prison with a possibility of parole in 30 years. In 2021, Todd went back to court to argue that his original defense team was ineffective in their defense and didn't introduce critical evidence at trial. This time, he was represented by attorney Jerry Buting, who was also involved in the Stephen Avery case, and Buting's wife, Kathleen Stilling. One expert talked of Todd's struggle to remember what happened the day of the accident and argued that mental trauma from the incident was indeed to blame. A forensic pathologist argued that Barbara's cranial cerebral injuries were caused by the car accident and not her husband. In May of 2022, a judge denied his request for a new trial. His children say that they will appeal this as well. We aren't going to stop until he can be home, said his daughter, Jessica. Case cracked. I would like to thank CBS News, Sportskeeda.com, SandhillsExpress.com, and the La Crosse Tribune. Of course, the biggest thank you goes to Christy Arnhart, and here she is now to discuss it with us. Christy, one of the worst outcomes that we see in cases of this nature is you wind up with children that effectively lose both of their parents. And of course, in this instance, we have children that feel like their father is innocent. Did you run into any information to give us a better understanding of why they believe that?
Well, Jessica and Jordan don't believe that prosecutors ever answered critical questions about what happened. And I kind of agree with that. Jessica said they never really said how he killed her or what he did to stage everything. And that's very true.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because I know the information that you included in today's case was more focused on proving that the stories he was telling weren't true, especially for where he was supposedly heading that morning. And for me, it's hard to ignore that the job they were heading to, like there's no one to corroborate that they were supposed to be going off to there. So it pretty much clearly seems like a lie, but there's a lot of reasons for people to lie about things that don't always effectively have to be related to a murder scenario. And for, if I was a juror, I would just think, is that going to get me past that point where I have some doubt? And I don't know for me personally that it does. I think kind of along with what the children are saying, I would think that there would have to be some reasonable explanation in terms of, hey, we found some physical evidence that makes sense with this is likely what happened and it was out here. And it sounds like that kind of wasn't presented for some reason. Seeing the pipe and the size of the car, it doesn't feel feasible to me that this is an attack that actually happened in the vehicle. The cab of that car is small. That pipe is pretty long. Trying to swing that thing around in a car, that's not going to happen. No. So I'm thinking that, I don't know, it feels like it has to be another location.
Well, and I would tend to agree with you there. I mean, the kids had so many doubts too. Jordan raised a really good point. He said, if dad wanted to kill Ma, why the hell would he go through all the work, finding a pipe, driving all the way to the middle of a busy road? Both children note that he had a few dozen guns in the house, but if you're going to commit a murder, you don't want to do it with something that's registered to you.
Yeah, probably not. And that's also assuming that this killing was premeditated.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of seems to me like if you're considering the possibility that this was a domestic violence type situation, escalating arguments happening between them, one just gets out of hand and things go way too far.
Hmm.
That's a very different situation. And that kind of lends itself well to this feeling that we're getting with this story about like, why is he making up these stories? Like, why can't he just be honest about where they were going or why they were out there?
Hmm.
So yeah, if it happens in the heat of the moment like that, I think it really changes things on that front in terms of why didn't he just do this? Why didn't it would have been easier? I don't think this was a matter of it being easy in any way. It really does raise a question for me though of where is this crime scene?
Hmm.
Once again, just going down that chain of thought, I'm thinking it's probably an argument might have happened at the home, could have happened that morning. The pipe could have been the item that was actually used in that attack. And then all of a sudden he has to come up with this story about, oh my God, what did I just do? Okay, I need to make some story for how this pipe winds up hitting her.
Hmm.
And then keep in mind that, for her morning routine, she didn't call into work saying she was going to be there late. She didn't make the phone call to her mother that she usually does.
It, and even her injuries to me seem like domestic,
Yeah.
like passionate. I agree with you there, but it's odd. The morning that they left, nobody noticed anything. Jordan was actually still living at the house at that time, and he said that he heard the two downstairs, and as they left together,
Oh,
they weren't arguing. He said it was just business as usual. But we've got an odd thing here. There was a stretch of property that was about 80 acres.
yeah.
Todd had been caring for it and he planned to buy it. That property is close to their home, and GPS information shows that they were there early that morning. Why didn't he mention that?
Ooh,
Why did they go there? I so many questions. Could
that's
this be the
pretty.
crime scene?
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty interesting. And also, when you're looking at pictures of that pipe, like it looks all weathered and rusty. Like it looks like something that could have been laying out in a field for a
Yeah, it
while.
looks like it's got red mud and whatnot on it. Hmm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder if there was some disagreement about the property. Like maybe he was planning on buying it, but maybe she didn't know anything about that, and he goes out to spring it on her, and the conversation doesn't go right or something. I don't know.
Could
Wow,
be.
wow. Hmm. Christy, thank you so much for all your hard work on today's episode. We really appreciate you. And I've got some other people to thank right now. Thank you, PayPal supporters Jennifer Dixon, Angela Welch Sola, and Amanda Beard. We have always run limited commercial ads here on YouTube, and we can't do that without support. If you'd like to help, please visit LordanArts.com. There you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, buy merchandise, or even just buy us a coffee like Robert Martin recently did. Remember, you can get another LordanArts story every week on the Seriously Mysterious podcast. A new episode is coming tomorrow and every Tuesday after that. Visit SeriouslyMysterious.com and subscribe on your favorite podcatchers. Also, if you want to catch one of our weekly Secret Studio live shows, be sure to check the description box below for our new channel link, LordanArts Studio 2. And of course, I'll be back right here on the LordanArts channel.